Looked at the logs, this said that I need a driver mod and I need to shift the car like a man. My name is Miles Kerr. I'm from English Racing here, and we're at the 2019 Import vs. Domestic World Cup Finals, baddest race of the year that we have. Love this place. We're here with the ETS Evo 10 that us English Racing built. They kind of gave us a car years ago. We've been building it ever since. I can't paint it and race it. There's so many improvements that have been done to this car over the years. This year we went up a class to a slightly faster class. Last year we were in True Street. This year we are in Super Street. We got lucky and very fortunate with the rules this year. This car was allowed to be 2,600 pounds and have a 7685 precision turbo. What this car is, it's been a project for us for a long time. It's got an ETS turbo kit, like I said, a precision 7685 on it. So we dropped down to, we did a little bit of revamp on this car, so we get a smaller intercooler, which still doesn't have a problem at like 65 pounds of boost. And we did a tubular front end, so the whole front end now will come off the car if we, not if, but when we need to swap a motor or a tranny or whatnot, helps us work on it. Still has one of our race long blocks in it, has custom aluminum GRP rods, custom wide-scope pistons, has a custom crank that we have made essentially. Well, we took a factory crank and modified it to fit these GRP rods that we had done. It's a 10-to-1 compression motor, so it's not anything crazy. Head's got all GSC Power Division products in it, so S3 cams, custom conical valve springs that we have to adjust and modify to get the seat pressure that we need. It's got GSC valves also, they're super alloy exhaust, and 1 mil over on the intake and exhaust. It has a ported head, still runs the factory timing gear, but we've pinned it on the exhaust, and the intake still functions, so still has a MyVet control. This has a cam that can pretty much move about 30-something degrees retarded or advanced. So on a street car, you can make a street car spool a lot quicker versus like an Evo 8, like they just have one specific spot and it's there the whole time. So Evo 9s and Evo 10s can spool the same turbo faster than an Evo 8 can. With that comes problems on figuring out how to keep that gear from blowing apart when it's at idle and low oil pressure, high valve spring tension. So a lot of stuff that goes on there that took us years to perfect and get right without having any problems. So I feel there isn't a 4B11 out there that goes as fast as we have, and that makes as many hits as we have without having any real issues with it anymore. So again, at the end of the day, what the kind of racing we're doing, it's not if but when there's a motor problem. Onto the drivetrain components. It's pretty simple, really. It's a Graph 5-speed transmission dog box. They made the first 5-speed tranny for us back in 2014, actually, and it's still the same, pretty much the same tranny ratios, everything like that. Got a 392 final drive, which back in the day when we had issues revving the car, we put a tall final drive on it so we wouldn't have to rev the car. Well, now we have the RPM figured out. You know, we can rev it to 11,000, doesn't really have any issues. But the big problem is now we have this really tall final drive in first gear. It's a nightmare to launch this car. So what we've actually done this year is we put nitrous on the car. If the RPM drops or boost drops below 25 pounds, nitrous kicks on and it comes out of the hole real smooth. We're only launching this car at about 5,400 RPMs, and for most people in an all-wheel drive car, they might say that that's really low for RPM wise. So we have an Exidy triple carbon clutch in it. So it has 3 carbon discs and 3 steel floaters. And it takes all the power we give it right now. I mean, the Evo 8, which has made 950 foot-pounds of torque, has the exact same clutch in it. And it same clutch that this car has, and we're able to slip the clutch and have it not destroy itself or not have a problem after we slip it. We have a factory ACD T-case, so it has a ACD transfer case which comes factory on these cars. We have a modified Shep Trans Stage 2 transfer case, and we still use the factory ACD to control power front to rear. These cars actually do it electronically factory, but this car we have one of our mechanical pumps on it, which simplifies it, and it works really well. I think our plan one of these days is to actually switch it to a Motec controlled. We can use the factory ACD pump and actually fully control it electronically via the ECU. We haven't done that yet. We've kind of had a combo that works, so we don't want to try and reinvent the wheel and learn a whole new combo there. Drive shaft shop, 1-piece carbon or 2-piece carbon driveline, 3000 GT rear diff, drive shaft shop pro level rear axles. It has a Belloc 15x8 wheels with M&H 26.5 by 8.5 by 15-inch tires on it. We have a John Reed Racing development package, so anything that Lukas dreams of, that he wants to make some new throttle table to control boost off the line, he tells John Reed what his idea is, and John Reed makes it happen. That's the beauty of the Motec M1, is when you have a developer behind it, they can literally do anything you want that their mind or they can do. PDM is a fully programmable power distribution module, so relays, switches, all that kind of stuff is all programmed by an ECU. Has a Motec C127 dash. Right now it's just using it as a display, but the functionalities of the dash are pretty high up there if we ever need it also. We've got Lukas English, owner of English Racing, is who tunes the car, and he's been tuning it since I think 2014 when we first started running the car. We had an M800 then. We switched into Motec M1 after about a year of me having the Motec M1 My Integra, we switched it. The car makes about 1,050 to the wheels at like 50 pounds of boost. And when we run it right now, it's running about 60, 62 pounds. It traps speed based on weight. It says we're making about 1250 to the wheels is what that number comes up to. So we've got a new suspension we worked on since last year. So we have some custom Evo 10 silver double adjustable suspension on the car. We called these guys up and Luke told them what he wanted, and it showed up on our doorstep about a week later, and it took some adjusting to get what we want between the bound and the rebound and the compression. We finally got it to where we don't have a bunny hopping, bouncing over curb Evo 10. That was one of our biggest problems last year. So we got that figured out. The suspension's been working great so far. As far as fuel system wise, we have a Aeromotive atomic black fuel pump. Runs at about 95 pounds of base pressure, and we have 8 Fuel Injector Clinic 2150cc injectors, and we run methanol, M5 methanol in the car. We've switched to from M1 to M5, makes a little more power, got to be a little tighter on the tune itself, air fuel wise. Best time as of right now was TX2K 19. I went 816 at 180 miles an hour. Since then we took about 130 pounds out of the car, and it's trapped a little higher. It's been about 181 and a half, 181.6 is the highest mile an hour so far, and the best time right now with the lighter, a little bit lighter car has been, I think today actually, 821 at 181. And so I'm hoping the car raised the rev limiter a little bit. I really think the car has a 185, maybe 186 mile an hour trap in it right now, which would be really good, because I mean, if you think about how many other Evos are trapping above 180 in general, Evo 8s, you probably count them on about one, maybe two hands at most. So to have an Evo 10 that's came out so much later with a completely different platform of engine to be going just as quick and fast as those cars is a real big achievement. And you know, our goals here this weekend, I mean, we'd love to go rounds, that would be great, but really we're here for a record. TPG Tuning, they have a great car. They took the record from us in August this year at the DSM shootout, and they ran 8:15 I think with a 4, and we went 8:16 with a 0. So it's the first time we've had anybody not just close to us actually beating us with this platform in this car. So the competition's really stiff right now, and here we are to try and go faster than them. Matt did an amazing, flawless job making that car beautiful, and obviously now faster than us, quicker than us.
Come on, bitch, do this. My God!
So maybe a lot of people don't know, but this car is owned by Extreme Turbo Systems, but we, English Racing, build, tune, drive, and maintain this car. This car was actually the owner, JR from ETS's first car he ever bought brand new. And he bought that car, I think sometime 2010, I don't remember when he bought it, but he bought it brand new, and it pretty much instantly turned into a race car. Back then it was a brand new car, new platform, new engine, something that no one had ever seen at the time. And JR basically started building parts off of it. He did intercoolers, exhaust, intercooler piping, turbo kits, and he just went down the route of first Evo 10 and the 10s, first Evo, and then he struggled a bit because back then, like, you know, we didn't have the motors figured out, they didn't have the motors figured out, there was a whole lot of stuff going on back then. And this car actually had an AEM Series 2 piggybacked into the factory ECU to control the engine side, and it was just a battle to run 9s as fast as he could. I think the car ended up running like a 9.9 or 9.8, like 148 miles an hour back then. Had full interior, full street car still, and it was a little bit of a cluster with the AEM ECU piggybacked into the factory harness just to run the engine. This car had a lot of the dash was lit up, looked like a Christmas tree, and it was a pretty unhappy car. And back then, obviously, they didn't have a Motec, a plug-and-play Motec for it. JR really loved the car. He still does really love the car. And so what happened was, we're like, hey, we want to race a car and go down a platform that's a really good platform. And he gave us the car, and we just went to town. We basically tried to run the car, get the car, be the first to the 8s. And there was a time, I think there were some Puerto Rican guys that ran like a 9.2 at like 153 or 4 miles an hour. And we'd only ever been like a 9.3, and then we got a Precision at that time, 7285 on it, and we got some weight out of the car, and then Luke dropped into the 880s, I believe, and it's just been kind of an improvement since then. I started taking over the car last year because Lukas is going to start driving the Evo 8, and so here I am a year later. We like to say every time we go to a big event, we go just a little bit quicker and faster, and last year the record up until here was 829. 830, then I ran an 829, then I ran an 827 here, and then at TX2K 19 I ran an 816. So here we are again. I just ran first qualifying pass in Super Street, and the car ran 821 and 180. So I looked at the logs. This said that I need a driver mod, and I need to shift the car like a man. So I need to rev it higher and not just mosey on down the track. So next pass, hopefully tomorrow, everything works out right. It comes out of the hole and I shift it like right. I'm hoping for, you know, maybe a low 814 or 5 or 6 or something like that, and maybe 183 or 4 miles an hour. I think that'd be really cool if we could do that. So we're gonna continue to push this car until we can run the 7. And once it runs a 7, we want to back that 7 up with another 7. And if it still runs after that, we'll go for another 7. Just like hopefully we did with the Evo 8, we ran 4 7s in a row. We would love to do that with this car too, but really just being the first in that car in an Evo 10 platform to run a 7 would be a real big accomplishment, because it was only a year ago in the USA that an Evo 8 or 9 platform ran a 7. That's what we're really shooting for this weekend, is to set a record, you know, get YouTube famous, and that's what we're here for. Ever since I can remember, I've just always been infatuated and interested in cars of some sort. And when I turned 16 in the Dominican, I bought an Integra. Everything, you know, of course at that time it's like Fast and Furious had just came out, and you know, if you weren't older already at that time, you didn't have you know, you weren't really you were in the cars, but you hadn't actually done anything. You hadn't worked on a car. I mean, at least I wasn't. We're talking 2001 or 2. I'm only 32, so back then I was 15, 16. A Motor Trend car driver. I knew every new car, what they made for power, how fast they went. At least that's what the magazines told me. And when I bought the Integra, it was like a constant, let's see what I can do to actually smoke the first motor in the car, because I never paid attention to the oil, and that's what every 16-year-old should have, is a car that they don't pay attention to, and then it smokes the bottom end. And I had to put like a B16 motor in it, and I had some guys down there that helped me work on it, and I put nitrous on it, and then eventually turboed it. And I moved here in 06. I didn't have any friends. So what does someone who's, you know, 18, 19 do? They don't have any friends. They figure out where they can go racing. At least that's what I did at the time. I went to the Port International Raceway, our local track, and I drag raced that car every weekend. And I put 370 passes in it in 1 year on a stock car. I mean, it was a whopping 14-second car when I was done with it, so it didn't feel like a whole lot. I mean, it's what I had done at the time. GFC Power Division for the constant, you know, support and help for making the best valve train components that we've ever ran on any of our cars. Even the Integra has all GSC valve train in it. fuel injector clinic for the injectors, Wiseco pistons for the pistons that we run, Silver's suspension. Obviously, like I said, it's new to us, but it works extremely well. Graph transmissions. Thank you for making us a 5-speed dog box. Magnus Motorsports for the clutch slipper that we have, and the intake manifold. It's always been great products from them. Thanks to all the guys at English Racing and all of us. This car is a team effort. All the guys at the shop for putting in the work to get this car here. As always, it was a struggle about a month before. We weren't sure what we were gonna do, if were we gonna have everything to make it here, so.
My name is Lukas English with English Racing. We're here at the 2019 World Cup Finals. We're racing in Wild Street with our 2005 Lancer Evolution. So the engine in this car is a 4G63. It's a non-Myvec. It's full English Racing build. It's GRP rods, Wiseco pistons. Surprisingly, it has an Eagle crank in it that's been in it since last year. Has full GSC valve train, GSC S3s. The head's all ported in-house. Has Magnus intake on it. Runs on the M5 methanol. So turbo kit's a custom turbo kit from Extreme Turbo Systems. It's on a Precision 7685. Has full it's titanium exhaust. So everything about trying to make the car as light as possible. Then as far as the cold side goes, it's Extreme Turbo Systems intercooler, all custom aluminum or titanium piping. A lot of in-house fabrication with English Racing. On the fuel system, it's a Aeromotive black pump that's has the FIC 2150s, 2 sets. Yeah, so it's a standard PPG dog box. It does have this car's done 213.5 mile before, so it does have a factory face-plated fifth, so it does have a dog fifth gear. Of course, we don't use that here in the quarter mile. It has the B-Lac wheels and 15s. Car's super light, so it's we have billet knuckles on it, titanium wherever we can have titanium, carbon fiber drive shaft, Lexan windows. This car was actually Paul Nelson's original car from way back in the day. Then our shop bought it, so the chassis actually belongs to English Racing. Then Autif, he pretty much paid to put the whole car back together, so we call it Autif's car, because chassis is pennies in comparison to putting the whole car together. Like car on these scales, here's car's $23.95 with me in it. It has the aluminum roof on it, and of course Aero works with carbon fiber hood, everything. The door flew off last year because we were a little too skinny. So I've been on a diet, so I'm down to 175 pounds from 210. So everything we can do. It's on an M1 Motec ECU with a John Reed Racing package, and then a lot of it's a development package from the Evo 10, so we have a lot of custom stuff with the drive-by-wire throttle body to create, because on wastegate line, the lowest booster car runs 55 pounds, which is about almost 1,200 horsepower. So obviously that's way too much horsepower for first gear. So then between drive-by-wire and race timers and stuff, we maintain control of the power through first and bring it in when we want it. And I do all the tuning on the car, do the tuning on the 10. Miles also helps with the tuning and looking at logs, because there's a lot of data that we look at that it gets pretty complicated on which directions to go and what to do. If you can imagine, actually this car bogs, like on the 770s last year, it actually bogs to like 3,300 RPM, but still maintains 30 plus pounds of boost at that low of an RPM, and then just squirts out, and I attribute the car just being so light. you know, we're trying to figure out how to develop true slipper clutches. That would be our true solution to being able to get them to come out. But as of right now, my strategy is low RPM, figure out how to keep the boost up at the low RPM and just make it come out almost like a stock turbo. I mean, I just attribute the methanol. Of course, we're starting out at a high RPM to get the boost up there. Precision and just making amazing turbos. I just don't even know how to describe. Twin scroll is kind of an interesting technology. A lot of times in cars, like if we put a car in third gear versus an open scroll versus twin scroll, and we go on the dyno, you can barely tell a difference between a twin scroll and an open scroll turbo. But it seems like if you get twin scroll time, then it does things that an open scroll doesn't do. So I think the fact that we're already spooled up and we come down, that's where the twin scroll shines, is because it helps keep the boost there. So both cars are launching only like 5,500 RPM, and it's about 30 pounds. You know, our wastegates are completely closed at the line, and I actually do my boost control with the throttle at the line. So as we approach our 30 pounds, that throttle plate actually rocks off. Then as soon as the car moves, throttle plate instantly opens back up. Then actually once the car is out a certain speed, throttle plate actually starts coming back to keep stuff from going out of control. So it's a little bit of a science project. So right now, like first through third, I only have the rev limiter at 9,800, and then for the trap speed we're allowing 10,500 in fourth. Has an XD Racing carbon triple disc in it with some custom like mods to the clutch for strength through XD. So it's made as much as 1,400 wheel on a dyno jet. That's an uncorrected number. Luckily we are at sea level, so our uncorrected and corrected numbers are usually within 15-20 horse. But uncorrected is always the real number. That's what you feel. And then at the track we're right at the same 70. You know, I think on the dyno is 72 pounds, and then we're targeting 65 pounds right now, and then if everything goes well, you know, we'll be at the 70 pounds here pretty quickly. So I love racing. I don't care if I'm in a 14-second car, I don't care if I'm in a semi truck, I actually love to race. I have a 2018 Model 3 Tesla, and I've done 300 and some passes in it this year, just running. I have the world's fastest Tesla at 1140. Okay, so I don't care, you know, and honestly this time slip chasing, I hate it. Like, I just think it's ridiculous, but that's what I do, I guess. So last year, of course, the goals were to get the car into sevens. There was a huge bounty. We did some testing before we came out here. I knew this car would do sevens easy after some of the setup changes in the Motec we had done. Of course, the yellow Evo on my way out here went 7.7 or 7, you know, got the bounty. I came out, pretty much took the record away from him on like my third pass. Proceeded to do 4 back-to-back sevens. That time was the world's fastest. Then we have the, which I'll probably get in trouble, but the debatable car, the Extreme Tuners car, which they've been to enough tracks. I feel it's a real time, you know. Unfortunately, some of the maybe it's our customers. That's why I don't follow too close, but you know, they say a lot of things that make you doubt them at times, you know. But they have the record at the moment, which is like 100th faster or something. So I guess if I have a goal, it's to beat their time, which would be hopefully a 760. I would love to just come here and actually, you know, not sandbag the car, but qualify good, look at the competition, you know, have the car set up, turn it up to try to beat who I'm racing, you know, try to actually win the race. But nobody these days seems like they give a about that, right? They only care about, I could win this whole event, and then but the white piece of paper that says I set a record only seems like it mattered. But in my opinion, that's what's killing racing, is because the cars are so problematic, so expensive. The amount of, you know, it's ascendant generation, so the amount of passes to success is just ridiculously low, and so it just makes for I think a super sad industry. That's why almost the 10 was so fun for so long, is because we were the fastest. And so we literally would just go to an event to run the car and be there because we didn't have a goal per se. It was just, and a lot of times I've set my best records just having fun versus trying. It always seems like when you try is when you never get it. So anyway, but here we are. I guess it's always been, so my dad was never into racing, but he always drove. He was always abusive on cars, you know, like a kid, you know, he just had like a 89 CRX SI, which was whatever. It seemed like it was quick, you know, in the late 80s, right? And then of course he got like a V6 Acura Legend, you know, which is actually might have been a high 14 second car in the, right? So when I first got my license, of course that thing was, you know, I beat the snot out of it, you know, but like we go skiing, my dad, you know, 140, whatever, top shit out. Got my pilot's license, so I might be right when I was 17, you know, I've been flying since I was 12. So what I'm getting at is that tuning is in being into motors, because when you fly an airplane, you're always tuning, because you're always doing fuel mixture. You know, as you change elevations, you lean an airplane out as you come down. So you're always, as a pilot on a piston airplane, you're always tuning versus EGT. So I guess that might have got in my head early on, you know. So then right into, when I first got my first car, it was just an 89 Accord. Of course, I drove like an idiot, e-braked everywhere, but I was into stereos. So a lot of, you know, I had 615s and a Civic early on. In high school, we did a LS swap into like a CX Civic with my buddy. It ran like a 14.9, of course. So that felt like the coolest thing ever in like 95 or 6, you know. And then I picked up a 92 Talon. It had a 16G and some exhaust on it, you know, super AFC. You know, broke transmissions, of course, right off the gate. And then had an older gentleman named Terry Livermore, as a mechanical engineer, who, you know, those kind of guys, they can do anything, right? So him and I did a couple transmissions together, and then so I started off doing transmissions and DSMs. And then one of my friends that had like a small block Chevy and a Chevelle, you know, right out of high school, ran low 10s, you know, and so he did motors and I kind of did training, so we worked together. So TJ still does all the motor assemblies in these and the specs, so I started off as the training guy, he was the motor guy. And you know, a lot of street racing. It was super fun back then, you know. Fast and Furious was to me horrible because it wrecked what was good street racing for us, you know, because it just brought out too many people and dumbasses. And of course 2004 or 5, my Talon was like mid 11s in the Northwest, you know, so a mid 11 second car in the street, I mean, I was a rock star, you know. I mean, I could go out, get Mustangs 5-6 car arm drop head starts by the top of second, you know, I'm 2-3 cars on them, and like it was probably the most glorious days of my life as far as racing went, you know. And so I guess that was the addiction there. But I still get, you know, my local track has huge noise requirements. It's a crappy track, so a lot of times on a weeknight my Tesla can be like in the top 5 at this track, you know, so I can still sit there punking people off and having a good time, you know. So I mean, the 2000s when I guess or so, when I got the Talon, started racing. 2004 is when English Racing Incorporated and became a real, you know, a real company to work on cars. And so then it's just been a, you know, an evolution ever since then. You know, one thing about our shop that's just super different is I've had, you know, Aaron with me for like 10 years. TJ's been with me like 14 years. Jeff. Our shop has, I mean, Aaron tunes, I tune, TJ's a tuner, Miles even does all of his tuning. You know, Miles does all of his engine assembly, does all of his transmission. So I have I've created a lot of extremely talented people underneath me, you know, so that's why I can sit in the semi truck and drive and the whole shop runs itself. I mean, I'm a huge believer in teaching everybody around me and everybody growing together, you know. So a lot of shops might only have one tuner, one engine builder. I mean, we have a ton of people that can work together and try to, you know, do special things. So.